What in the world happened in the Maldives? So, if you have not heard, there was a very bizarre, horrific incident that took place there. A group of Italians, 5 were scientists, and the other was the diving instructor, so 6 in total. They set out to explore a series of underwater caves at a depth of about 50 meters in Vavu Atoll in the Maldives on the 14th. This was not a novice group. They were not amateurs at diving. They were very experienced because this is what they did. The group consisted of biomedical engineers, marine biologists, professors of ecology, and of course you have the diving operators, so they're used to going underwater for long periods of time. It seemed like this specific dive was a part of a mission because 4 of the divers were affiliated with the University of Genoa, including 2 who were on an official scientific mission to monitor marine environments. All 6 of them put their scuba diving gear on, 5 of them go into the water, and they never come back out. All 5 of them that went into these waters ended up deceased. 4 scientists and their diving operator, but like I said before, there were 6 of them in total. 1 had survived because for whatever reason, at last minute, she decided against going into the waters, even though she was geared up to dive. Reading this article from the New York Post, it says it wasn't immediately clear why this diver stayed behind on the yacht, the Duke of York, while the rest of her group explored the underwater cave near the island of Alamatha, I think that's how you pronounce it. The student was not identified, had been geared up to dive when she changed her mind and stayed on board, the outlet reported. While that does sound suspicious, it's always possible she had some kind of final destination premonition, like something inside her gut was telling her not to go into those waters and she listened to her gut instinct. I mean, that's always possible, but the article does say she was the only direct survivor of that day and a key witness for reconstructing the final moments before the accident, though authorities have said there were roughly 24 other non-crew members on the boat over the course of that day. So there was other people on board that boat that were not connected to this diving team, but again, she was all dressed and ready to go into the waters, and for whatever reason, she backed out. Experts have said that oxygen toxicity and sheer panic are possible factors that led to these 5 scuba divers passing away, with one pulmonologist quoted as saying, "It's likely that something went wrong with the tanks." It's all very possible, but these are just theories. Even he says it's not easy to say now what exactly may have happened at the bottom of the sea. But here's where things get a little bit more bizarre, because there was a 6th person connected to this that also dove into these waters that ended up deceased, never resurfaced.
A military diver has died while searching for the bodies of several scuba divers. The high-risk recovery operation has been suspended due to bad weather there. Underwater cave, at least 160 feet below the surface. Search teams were called in when the team failed to resurface. Only 1 body has been recovered so far in that search.
So yeah, Mohammed Mahdi, a member of the Maldivian National Defense Force, passed away of underwater decompression sickness after being transferred to a hospital in the capital. So what they're saying is that he went a little too deep himself and then rapidly ascended. That's what caused him to get decompression sickness. What should also be interesting to note too, of the 5 that went into the waters, the only body discovered was the diving instructor. None of the scientists' bodies, as of this recording anyway, because anything can change, have been found, and it kind of makes you think of these other scientists that have ended up deceased or have vanished under mysterious circumstances. But just to be clear, those scientists were connected to NASA and national laboratories. These were underwater scientists. But supposedly there has been an update today. 3 Finnish divers had joined the search, and they're saying they found the bodies of these missing scientists, that they have been located. But like I said before, these people were known to be experienced divers. They were known to explore the waters multiple times before. They were not out there for a party, a scuba diving party. They were there for scientific research. The most you're allowed to dive underwater, legally anyway, in the Maldives is 30 meters, 98 feet. These people, for whatever reason, supposedly went 164 feet below. That would definitely explain them having issues, but you would think, given their experience, they would know their maximum they're allowed to go before things start to get very risky. And given the fact that all 6 were from Italy, including the diving instructor, one could make the argument that they were not familiar with the local limits. But the thing is, the yacht they were on, the Duke of York, only caters for technical and rebreather divers as well as those diving within the official 30-meter limit. So they had to have known something of the limit. And even if they didn't know, or they were ignorant of the limit and still decided to go down there anyway, But what's that to say for the experienced Maldivian military diver who dove in to look for them? He would have dove very deep and then, for whatever reason, extended very rapidly. A husband who also happens to be a scientist says that his wife, one of the divers, was way too experienced to have ever taken risk. That something wildly unexpected had to have happened down there. Another one of the divers also happened to be his daughter, so he lost his wife and his daughter. He was quoted as saying, "The only certainty I have is that my wife is among the best divers on the face of the earth, and that she's always been conscientious. Never would she have endangered the life of our daughter or others with them." But even with that being said, there are people out there that are known to be experienced swimmers and divers that end up drowning because they underestimate the waters they go into. But this news story definitely has a couple bizarre circumstances. But moving on, this next news story is very creepy, and the question happens to be, who was in this urn?
A local family ordered a set of urns through Amazon for their loved one, but they say when they arrived, one of them appeared to have human remains already inside.
They tried to contact the company, but they say they felt like they weren't getting appropriate answers, so they contacted 7 on Your Side for help. Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Granda went to get answers.
For a grieving family, this urn was supposed to help honor their grandfather's memory. Instead, they say it opened a heartbreaking mystery.
I've never seen human remains myself like that. And I looked at them and I don't know what else they could be.
The family ordered several urns through Amazon after their grandfather passed away and was cremated. But when they inspected one of the urns that arrived, they made a gruesome discovery.
One of the urns had ashes in it, and my grandmother was confused and asked my mom, "Why does this urn already have ashes in it? Did you order pre-filled?" And no.
Shocked and concerned, the family immediately contacted Amazon customer service, hoping the company could help determine where the remains came from and how they could be reunited with the proper family.
Amazon wasn't working with us at all. They just wanted to give us a refund and stop right there.
The screenshots of those conversations show a frustrating response. In one message, a customer service representative told the family, "I understand that you have received a used item. Please allow me a moment to check the available option for you." The family responded, "It's not just used, it has possible human remains in them." Another message offered the customer a $19.99 promotional credit and told them, "You can keep or get rid of the item." The family says they repeatedly tried to explain this was not a simple return.
If it's something that's used, yeah, you can send it back and get a new one. And it's not just used. This could be part of someone's loved one that they're missing, because we never know if someone could have an empty urn that they're talking to, thinking that their loved one's there, but they're actually not.
So the family contacted 7 on Your Side, and then Amazon responded. The company sent us a statement saying, "We appreciate ABC 7 for bringing this to our attention, and we've apologized to the customer. We're looking into this and will work directly with the customer once we have more information."
They did acknowledge that they kind of did drop the ball.
Culbertson says Amazon told him the urn came through a third-party seller, and they're contacting them to figure out if this was a return or some type of error. They now have a team trying to figure out how to treat the ashes with dignity.
I even told her we don't want just to send them back to you and be sitting in a warehouse. We want answers. We want them returned to the family.
Culbertson says the company told him they will do that, and they will also offer training to the employees involved and put in a procedure in case something like this happens again.
Thanks to ABC 7 for really helping us out and pushing Amazon to reach out to us and get this all settled.
I'm Carlos Granda, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
What a wild tale.
Frustrating situation.
What's also scary about this is that not only did they get somebody else's remains buying it off of Amazon, but they had to keep dealing with an AI automated response. It wasn't until they reached out to the news and the local news started to get involved did they start to get a more human response. That is the way of the autonomous world now. But talking about an autonomous world, take a look at this.
Let this be your sign to not take a driverless car, because tell me why. I just booked a Waymo from the airport to my house. I live 7 to 10 minutes away from the airport. 10 minutes if there's traffic. I am very close to the airport. And I booked this Waymo, and it wouldn't give me a time estimate for some reason, but I never thought anything of it because in the past I've always used this before, or I've used Uber. It's pretty quick and efficient. You get off the plane, get my bag, go to the pickup area, get in the car, take off, get home, whatever. I get in the car and I hit start, and it says 45 minutes till drop off. And I was like, there's no way. This has got to be like a bug, right? It starts driving me in the direction of my house, which I think is normal. And then it does a U-turn, goes the opposite direction south for 15 minutes, does a little loop through this like parking lot area, and then turns back around north and heads in the direction of my house. I'm still 29 minutes away from my house. And I contacted support and I said, hey, don't know what's going on. Is there any way to reroute this? Is there anything that can be done? This is kind of crazy. Like, I live 7 minutes from the airport. It's telling me 40 minutes till it gets me home. And when you book one of these cars, if you cancel it, then you lose your money. And thankfully she was like, oh, like you can, you know, have it pulled over and you can get out and take an Uber if you want. We'll go ahead and refund you. But I'm like, dog, what are we doing here? Because now I'm freaking in the middle of like a highway area. There's nowhere to pull over here. I'll have to wait till I even get all the way up there, then call an Uber and then jump in one. I'm like, bro, this is crazy. You're telling me another 28 minutes just chilling in this thing. Dog.
I decided a long time ago to never get into a Waymo or any car that's driving without a human. For one, I do not want to support that type of business, and two, I don't want to put my life in the hands of the computer when it comes to actually being on the road, especially in a car that's easily hackable than ever before to take you to just about anywhere you don't want to be. That video came from Not Noah Osborne. But when it comes to our everyday cars, it doesn't get any less creepy because I saw this video off Matrika's channel, and why is all this information needed?
Your car knows when you're I'm not being dramatic. I'm dead. Mozilla audited 25 car brands. Every single one failed. The worst was Nissan. Looking at their privacy policy, they collect basic things like your name, your address, and then it gets weirder. Your internet activity, your browser history, and all the way at the bottom they collect immigration status, philosophical beliefs, and sexual activity. Why does a car company need to collect your sexual activity? It's not just Nissan. Kia's policy says the same thing. 6 of them collect your genetic data. 19 out of 25 say they can sell what they collect to whoever pays. And Tesla, their own employees passed around customers' dashcam footage between 2019 and 2022. A naked man walking up getting his mail, road rage clips, family pets turned into memes, passed around the office in a group chat for fun. You pay for the car, you pay for registration, you pay for insurance, and what do you get? Your data collected and sold to third party.
This is why, given the fact of all this surveillance, all these companies collecting data is pretty much the new gold. The main purpose of these data centers is to hold so much information on people and against people for the digital ID. Everything about who you are, even right down to what you like to do in bed, is stored in somebody or somebody's databases. But again, that's only just one theory when it comes to the true purpose of these data centers.
Frightening moments aboard an AirAsia X flight. The plane violently shaking mid-flight over the Indian Ocean. The Airbus A330, carrying over 350 passengers heading to Malaysia, was forced to return to Australia after engine trouble. About 90 minutes later, passengers say they heard a loud bang.
In June of 2017, the absolute unthinkable happened, and in my opinion, something that is straight out of a nightmare for me. Passengers that were on an AirAsia flight traveling from Australia to Malaysia grew extremely concerned when, right after takeoff, their plane began violently shaking. As you can see in that original news report, people were recording themselves. They had all sorts of different reactions. This guy seemed either stressed out or to be super chill, but nobody really knew what to do. At least that's according to the passengers. So this was supposed to be a 6-hour flight, but about 75 minutes in, that's when the rattling started. And the pilot came over on the intercom system, told everybody to remain calm, but eerily, he asked everybody on board to sit together and pray. Pray for safety, pray to get back home. Now, I don't know about you, but having a pilot tell me that I need to pray to bring us home, that just sounds like a really frightening situation. And I know that I would definitely have some sort of a panic attack if I ever heard that while I was in the air. However, at the end of the day, the plane turned around, landed back in Australia, and there were no injuries reported. The pilot, the plane crew, everybody worked together to get that plane back on the ground, and everybody ended up A-okay. However, this is just footage straight out of a nightmare for me. I definitely get plane anxiety nowadays, flight anxiety. I don't really know why, but this literally just seems like a nightmare situation.
That video came from the Paranormal Files. Now, without a doubt, I do believe praying worked, and I would have been praying too. But upon hearing that, there would have definitely been snot and bubble guts all over that plane. I would have been inconsolable.
All right, got a gorgeous Saturday Night Mandela effect here for you. This one's Home Alone, the original. Now, if anybody remembers this movie, Marv and Harry are driving past the church, okay? And Marv says, hey, Harry, do you want to go check this place out? And Harry, Joe Pesci, says something along the lines of like, nah, I'm not going in that place. It gives me the creeps. Nah, I'm not going in there. Place gives me the creeps. Something along those lines, right? And now it doesn't say that at all anymore. It literally just says, he just says, no, I'm not going in there. It completely removed the creep part. I don't know if that's because it's like a director's cut or a different edit or something, but there's a lot of debating about this specific movie for Mandela Effect all over like forums and YouTube or whatever. So you guys make up your own decision. What did you hear Harry say back to Marv when they're driving past the church and Kevin is hiding in that nativity scene on the front lawn? Check it out. Here it is.
Maybe we're in the church. I'm not going in here.
Hey, if you like the videos, make sure you follow and like because it encourages me to create more content for you.
That video came from Wuzzy World 2026, and I specifically remember, among a lot of other people, that when he's asked to go in there, Harry says, no, that place gives me the creeps. And I thought that maybe this was edited recently for TV or something like that to make sure nobody gets offended, but if you look up the original script, which I have, the sentence, that place gives me the creeps, or anything to do with creeps, is nowhere to be found. They just silently drive past the church. What's going on here?
You know who this is? This is Mark Bernays Randolph, the co-founder of Netflix. I love genealogy, and this guy has one of the most interesting family trees. Do you know who his paternal great-granduncle was? Well, this guy, Sigmund Freud, the father of modern psychology. You know, the guy we have to learn all about in the first couple years of college. And I need to do some more research, but allegedly, someone working in his archives taught themselves to read German so that they could read some of his old notes, like ones that weren't published. And I guess there's some pretty interesting things. Now, it's pretty crazy to have one really famous uncle, but Mark doesn't just have one famous uncle. He has two. This is Edward Bernays. This is Mark's great uncle. And if you don't know Edward Bernays, he is known as the father of propaganda. He rebranded that as the father of public relations because that sounds nicer. He had a whole campaign encouraging women to smoke. He basically invented the American breakfast of eggs and bacon. He helped with several presidential campaigns. He helped out with the Guatemalan coup in 1954 with the United Fruit Company. You know, Chiquita bananas. He used what he learned from his uncle Sigmund Freud to basically create modern propaganda techniques. And it seemed like Mark carried on with the family business. In the 90s, he was really interested in computer software that could track customers' buying behavior. And that led him to create a user interface at Netflix that doubled as a market research platform. And I'll let you make the connections between these three men and their work with the mind. What are your thoughts on this?
That video came from Too Much of a Coincidence, and it just feels like there's a never-ending war for your mind. And given the fact it came out that the future generation, Gen Z, is less cognitively intelligent than the previous generation, really goes to show they're winning through things like brain rot. Really makes you wonder who these other individuals behind these mass medias, social medias, could be related to.
The last thing you want to see in the ocean is something in the water, let alone something beckoning you to go into the water. Now, I have an abnormal fear of the ocean in the first place, so to be out there at night and see a ghost standing in the ocean, no. Obviously, this photo was taken at night on the beach. Woman was showing off the ocean, but in the photo, there's somebody standing in the water behind her. Well, not somebody, something is standing in the water behind her, just staring. The figure is solid gray, but it does look like its eyes are glowing, and they're looking right at this woman. There's just something so ominous about this photo, to the point that if I was her, I would never go to this beach ever again, because what is that? And why is it looking at you like that? The ocean's just terrifying. And it's also a well-known thing in the paranormal community that water is a great energy source for spirits. So there's actually no telling what type of spirits lurk in the ocean, the body of water. What do you guys think about this? Let me know. The last thing you want to see in the ocean.
That video came from Whoa, That's Strange, and what I found eerie about this that somebody had pointed out, it almost looks like this figure behind her is almost mocking this woman.
We have a unique UFO sighting coming out of China. This was actually captured by multiple witnesses, just slowly gliding above their streets. But it's a type of UFO that we've never seen before, and it's really close. Take a look at this footage, comment below, let us know what you think.
That video came from the paranormal chick, and that to me either looks like a flying virus or one of those demons from Dungeons and Dragons. But sadly, it's probably something as simple as a balloon that looks like a demon. So I played this individual's video on my other channel, Hours of Horror, yesterday, and he spoke about how he's noticing these very odd NPC-like people coming into the store that he works in. He didn't name the store, but he says it's located in a very small town, and he basically knows all the people that come in and out. Yet these certain people, he does not see them go in and out of the store. He's never seen them before, and they act very odd. Now, he doesn't have an update to that story, but he does talk about something else.
I had no idea that my video about the strange things going on at my retail job was going to be so intriguing to people. And this is not an update, but there is more than that going on there. When I first started, a male coworker let me know that don't be alarmed if you see like a black figure, because he's seen it a few times and another male coworker has also seen it. None of the female coworkers have ever seen it, but they will hear strange things in the store. Before I tell the rest of this story, a personal part of my life. When I was 5 or 6, we were homeless, well, multiple times as I was young, but this one instance, my grandmother stepped in and bought us a foreclosed home. This is in Alta Vista, California. It was boarded up when we got there. My dad took the time to take the boards off the doors and the windows, and the whole place was black inside. Come to find out, it was an old satanic church of some kind. There was a white pentagram in the floor, animal carcasses and whatnot. And over the 2-3 years we were there, a lot of strange things happened. I mean, we'd hear growling out of closets. We'd see red eyes out of the floor vents. My parents had goats, and we woke up one morning, all the goats' ears were cut off and laid in a pentagram in the middle of their pen, and the pen was an enclosed pen with a lock. I say this to say that once we left this house, from age about 7, 8, until I was 15, I suffered from sleep paralysis, directly related to the things I went through at that house. And I've seen these shadow people, shadow figures, whatever they call them, many times, usually prior to the sleep paralysis actually coming upon me, which in my instance, it was a really loud ringing in the ears. I'd have an instant feeling of falling really fast, and then I would have very demonic, horrific, lucid dreams that I would remember with great detail. And so, long story short, this happened till I was about 15, and I got a hold of the Lord, and I prayed one day that Jesus would take it away, and he did. I have not had that happen. It's tried a couple times, but it has not went full into a sleep paralysis. Now, I said that to say that a week or so after I started this job, and he had told me about this, we were standing in the front of the store one morning at 6 o'clock, and out of the corner of my eye, by the cooler, like in between these two aisles, I saw somebody walk by, a dark figure. So much so that we were speaking in an active conversation, and I literally stopped and had to look around the corner to see who was there. And so I told him, and he goes, well, now you've seen it. So there is weird stuff going on at this place. I then looked up on Google, and apparently my particular retail establishment is known to have creepy things going on, unexplained stuff going on. So again, this is not an update. I go to work tonight. But this is some of the other stuff I've encountered. Also, when we're front and facing through the night, after the doors are closed, going through the aisles, I'll go through an aisle, clean it up, next aisle, and then go walk the edges and notice that there's things thrown off the shelves. Things that you would hear, and you don't hear anything come off these shelves. So I figured I'd add this because there's more to it. I didn't think it would be that popular, honestly, but it's creepy stuff. So I'll keep you updated. And again, I got some meta glasses to see if there's any way I can capture some of this on film. I'm gonna have to figure out how, but nobody needs to hear this stuff, but there it is.
Now, I don't know what retail store he worked for, but I can definitely say working for Sam's Club when I was a lot younger, I was doing overnight stocking. I don't know if it was due to boredom of the job, late hours, but I would definitely hear some very weird things whispering in my ear, seeing shadows out of the corner of my eyes. Things would fly off the shelves. And again, it's very possible the mind's playing tricks on you being in a very dull environment for long hours. But without a doubt, some of these stores are very creepy late at night.
This will not be a great video to watch if you plan on going on a nature hike solo anytime soon. What if trees aren't exactly what you think they are? What if I told you that trees could possibly be a portal to another dimension or something that could trap you forever? Now guys, this is just a theory here, but the fact that we have found people encased in trees before makes you have to look at trees a little differently, okay? We talked about that famous story where the little boy went to hide behind the tree. This is on the Missing 411. And he went to go hide behind the tree, and his dad was watching them because they were all playing hide and go seek, and the dad was watching the little boy play while all the kids play hide and go seek. His little boy ducked behind a tree. Then one of the other boys got done counting, and they went to look behind the tree, and he's gone. To this day, they've never found him. It's been more than 40 years. They've never found any part of his body. And the dad went back there to check behind the tree, and he was just vanished. People have been found encased in trees multiple times, okay? Loggers will be cutting trees down. They'll cut a tree in half. There's a body inside of it. The tree had no hole originally, so it wasn't like somebody got stuffed in there by some kind of serial killer. Now, the fact that this has even happened once, let alone multiple times, tells me this is something that we need to be looking into. You hear about tree entities all the time. I mean, look at pop culture references. The Wizard of Oz shows the trees that are alive that go grab them. The Evil Dead has the whole, vine thing. There's a lot of stories with nature and the fae and fairy rings on the ground and these different things. We're seeing this famous story right now of this guy that swears his tree is moving, little by little every day. And you have to wonder if there's something to this. If you guys watch the show From, and you see that, the faraway trees, and then, one of them, the guy went into it and encased him into the side of a pool. once again, these pop culture references reference real things that people have supposedly witnessed, talked about, or gone through. And that just freaks me out. People talk about going to the woods and going through portals, or missing 411, people just turning up missing and gone away. It almost always seems like there's a connection to these missing people when people are right there with them. Like, there's so many stories of somebody who's like, oh yeah, there was 5 of us. We were all right together. Somebody just walked over to use the bathroom and they were gone forever. Did they lean against a tree? Did they touch one of these trees? Did the tree reach out and grab them and bring them in? Even in my videos in the past, people have said that they have seen faces in the trees behind me, like these trees right here behind me, when I'm doing my videos. And there's been so many screenshots of faces in the trees while I'm doing this. Could this be something that a supernatural creature does and has the ability to do, is to, pull you into these trees? Who knows? It's just a very creepy theory to look at. Go down that rabbit hole a little bit if you will. TikTok, please don't take down my video. I'm not saying this is a fact. I'm just saying it's a theory. Want to know what you guys have to say about it.
That video came from Nomad's Animals Encounters, and the one thing that really has me interested in this topic is the fact that throughout history are paintings and drawings of trees with faces. I always found that to be very interesting, and there are documented cases of people that go right next to trees and then suddenly disappear. One of the theories surrounding Bigfoot is that it can go back and forth through portals, and since Bigfoot is heavily connected to wooded areas, maybe it has something to do with the trees. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.